Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and viewers, sisters, viewers of IQRA TV. Welcome back. I hope you've enjoyed the first segment of this program and the second one as well. I'm really deeply honored that today I've been graced by the presence of Mohammed Shafiq, as I say, a mentor, a role model that I and I'm sure many other young people who want to engage with the media can look up to him and learn a lot from the way he operates and the way he articulates Muslims and Islam in front of the media, the mainstream media, not just locally but nationally, internationally as well. So we've been talking about the Muslim community, and the media has an agenda to a certain extent, and we've been talking about the negatives that they look at. The positives, obviously the Muslim community is engaged in a lot of positive work, as you mentioned, feeding the homeless, looking after sort of the poor, doing some charity work in this country, and how we can bring that to the attention of the media. And you're talking about social media rather than the mainstream media. So
and human-to-human interaction.
And human-human interaction.
Which I think is the most important.
There is that is happening. And what I wanted to ask, do you feel that we have now evolved to the level where that change can take place? Are we still, to a certain extent, stuck in this rut where our ulama and our mosques and madrasas are still only places of worship and not an outward engagement sort of organization?
I think we're on a journey.
Right.
And our mosques, which can be criticized for many things, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they were the centers of the community.
Yes, they were.
That's where everything happened. And sadly, in this country, our places of worship have become places where we just go to pray our Jummah or to pray our 5-time prayers, or to read the Janazah, or to read Eid, or to go to special occasions. And you are starting to see a change. You are starting to see British-born imams take on that advocacy role and that outward look work that is going on. I think there's some more work to be done in that area. As I said, we're on the journey. We're heading in that direction. Are we going at the speed that you and I want? Absolutely not. But if you look at your life, you're 40 years or more in this field of community engagement, you'd see a massive change to what it was like when you first started.
Oh, definitely.
In the 60s and 70s.
It's too slow.
But it's still substantial amount of change. We have had Saeed Warsi, in the British cabinet, Sadiq Khan in the British cabinet. We've had a number of senior politicians to be elected to the House of Commons, House of Lords. The London Mayor is Muslim. In business, some of the most successful people are Muslim. You look at law, you look at business, you look at industry. In every single field now, you are seeing Muslims not just being, the people who have been appointed just for the sake of being appointed, but actually excelling in their various industries, in the civil service, in the public sector, and making a real difference in the lives of people. And I think that's going to be our epitaph, that's going to be our success, because actually when you embed those people, when we get ourselves embedded into all them institutions, we're no longer the people who are asking for crumbs, asking for our rights. We're actually at the table where those decisions are being made, and I think that'll be a massive, profound change.
But even now, I work in the public sector to a certain extent, as a consultant. I've been talking about the Muslim businesses, for example, in Bradford and surrounding areas. There are Muslim businesses who have contributed massively to the economy of Yorkshire and West Yorkshire in particular. Yet there's very little known outside the Muslim community about the contribution they make to the economy of West Yorkshire. So how do we turn that round? What do we do? What do we have to do to show to those who attack the Muslim community as being spongers, benefit cheats, etc., or groomers, etc., that we are actually making a huge difference? You just look around here, there's hundreds of businesses, some very huge businesses, like the IQRA, like Regal Foods, etc. They're employing hundreds of people and contributing millions of pounds to the economy of Yorkshire and West Yorkshire in particular. How do we get that message to the media, the mainstream media? Do we need to use much more of the social network?
I think social networks is very important, but I think there's something else here. And that is that these businesses and these successes of people in various industries have to, one of the, I suppose, thing that really nags me is when somebody is successful, somebody gets to the top positions, they constantly fear of being replaced. And so then it's about pulling the ladder up behind them. But actually what they should be doing is they should become champions. They should mentor people like yourself, who've been successful public sector career. but actually saying, well, you know what, I want to mentor young leaders coming through now to be successful in their chosen industries. And it's doing that work and really reaching out, something which we haven't got, which say the Jewish community and the Christian community and many other communities possibly have, is a think tank. That long-term research, strategy, policy development.
But that means people have to be united.
Yeah. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be, because when you do think tanks, they're not sectarian in that sense. They're about issues and policies and the agenda, 2025, agenda 2050. Where do we want to be as a community? How can we develop? What are the statistics saying? There was something which the Treasury put out. I can't remember. Was it George Osborne was the Chancellor of the Exchequer? That British Muslims are the most giving community in the United Kingdom.
Definitely.
And it was from the Treasury figures, which were about how much gift aid was being given to Muslim charities. And it was
published by the Times.
Yeah, and it was published by the Times. So stories like that are not just somebody like me who's going onto TV to react to something and defend something and push back against a narrative, but actually saying, this is the research we've done, these are the facts, this is the evidence here. And I think more of that needs to happen. And really, some of these organisations we haven't broken into yet. The Sun, the Times, these news papers having a strong Muslim voice within it, so it can challenge some of these stories.
Coming to that point, I mean, do you still see the print media having as much influence on making people's minds up? You talked about 97% on the Leveson inquiry. Some of the negative media that the evidence that was presented. And Chris Allen is one of the professors I keep quoting, who did a report.
He did a fantastic report.
He did some fantastic work. Do you still think that the print media has a lot of influence on people's sort of making up people's minds and giving them ideas and thoughts? Do you still think that they play an important role?
I think they play a massive role. I mean, yes, sales on newspapers is diminishing. Newspapers are having to adapt to the social media generation, where a lot of younger people, instead of taking their news now from newspapers, are taking the news from Apple News or Google News or whichever other news platform, the social media. In the old days, you'd have to wait for a camera to come and broadcast from somewhere. Now everybody's got a camera, got smartphones, and people can broadcast straight away from any particular location in the country. Right. And so I think news consumption and news production is changing on a massive scale. And I think Muslims, we've got to be beyond that. So, channels like IQRA actually thinking about, well, actually, are we broadcasting just online? Are we broadcasting on a satellite channel? But how about, are we broadcasting on Facebook Live? Are we on Periscope? Are we on these social media platforms? It needs a bit of investment. It's difficult for some of these Muslim channels to do that because of resources, but actually looking up beyond that and saying, here are the positive stories, here are people making a difference. I know of a story, a group of, a good friend of mine from Slough, Shahzad Yassin, who passed away a few years ago. His family set up a charity in his name, Shahzad Yassin Foundation, and they do some fantastic work in Wakefield and in Slough, where they go out every Saturdays and feed the homeless. And recently, during hot weather last weekend, when it was really, really hot, on Saturday, they'd gone to an old people's home in Slough. Took cakes and ice creams and just spent a few hours with the old age residents in this place, talking to them, engaging them, and just really being there as a friend. I think that for us is the most important thing. We can't change the narrative about our community. We can't change somebody who's anti-Muslim is going to be anti-Muslim. But what we can do, the masses out there, they've got open minds. They work with Muslims. The majority of the people in this country are not tolerant. They are tolerant people, and they have Muslim friends. They engage with their neighbours, and they have a positive view. I think if you were to do an opinion poll, if you ask people's views about the Muslim community and the Muslim faith, it'd probably be pretty negative.
It is 70% of the moment.
Yeah. However, if you ask them about their own experiences of Muslims, I think the majority would be pretty positive.
Yes.
I think that's the difference.
I agree with you. I mean, and similarly, as the example you gave in Slough, we had an Eid celebration party event in Batley 2 weeks ago on a Thursday evening, and they invited the homeless people there. There were 70 people
wow, fantastic.
from Batley and Dewsbury who came. And in total there was about 200 people. And we all sat down and had a meal together. And this was to show, you know, that we're all one community. I think the message that you give is that the narrative, the ability to influence people out there is within our own hands.
Absolutely.
You know, and we need to take up the cudgel, as they say.
Yeah.
We need to take up
not,
the baton.
not everybody like you and me would have the opportunity to do the media work.
So
most people
your message to the young people is, you know,
engage,
and we have the power with social media to do that.
Yeah.
I've been told we're coming to the end of the program. So it's one of those.
I'm surprised I survived.
I'm really grateful to you. Thank you very much for coming.
Honor.
Inshallah, one day, I hope very soon you'll come back again and illuminate us with your, you know,
in all the years that I've known you, whenever I invited you to my programs, you never said no. And so whenever you invite me, I never said no.
Thank you very much.
I'm always there for you. So
thank you very much. I hope you've really found this of all programs one of the most fascinating, you know, events that I've held. I certainly have, and I'm really grateful to you. And thank you very much for watching. May Allah be with you, may He protect you, and please make dua for me and Mohammed Shafiq that he carries on his good work as well. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.